Hey, Jeff.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Good, good.
Very nice to meet you, and thank you for meeting me today for this meeting.
No problem. It's nice to meet you. Where are you located?
I'm located in Florida, in Orlando, in the United States.
Okay, nice.
You're in Canada,
Awesome.
right?
Yes, in Ottawa.
All right. Hi, everybody. This is Armando, and I have my channel, The Life You Want. And in part of my channel, we try to talk about personal growth and development. And I have Jeff Chang here. We're from the channel MMA Shredded, and he is also an MMA fighter in his own right. He's traveled a lot of places. I was looking at a page, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that too. But mainly, we're going to be talking about his personal development, what he does to beat all those negative thoughts that we all get at the very beginning, and and really not only in the beginning, but at any time. So, Jeff, let me ask you. The first question is, what made you go into martial arts? How did you get this started?
Um, for me personally, I was always into play fighting with my friends in high school. I was always that like Asian kid who would like play fight with the hockey fighters. And then one day, one of my friends just brought me into the gym, and I just trained Muay Thai, and I just kind of stuck with it and quit every other sport and stayed there. Yeah,
And
nothing special. Just joined.
And what made you make that jump between, just for fun or the sport into basically a lifestyle and a life career?
So it's been quite a long process. So I first started just for fun, just as a hobby. I was obviously pretty natural at it, and my coach at the time pushed me towards competition. And I thought it'd be cool to compete and challenge myself. So I just kind of took one fight at a time, and next thing you know, I've had about like 20, 25 amateur fights, and then I had definitely a winning record. And my coach was like, "Hey, you should jump into pro MMA." And at the time, I had only trained Muay Thai with no jiu-jitsu experience at all. And I'm like, are you sure? And then he says, yes, your striking will, outstrike most of the MMA guys there. So then, I think I was 20 at the time or 21. And I thought, hey, I'm already competing. Why not turn pro and get paid to fight? So then I had my first pro fight, won that by TKO in the first round. And then I thought maybe this is a good path to take, fight and get paid. And then I had my second fight, and my opponent was a wrestler and jiu-jitsu guy, and I still didn't have much jiu-jitsu experience. And second round, I got choked out. So then I decided that I would train jiu-jitsu again, or I'd start to train a lot of jiu-jitsu before I would compete in MMA again. So since it's been like 10 years where I focused on trying to get into law enforcement. So I've always been trying to get into law enforcement while training martial arts. And that's why if you look at my record of, my fight record, I'd fight and then take like a huge break and then fight and then take a huge break. It's because my goal was never to fight. My goal was always law enforcement. But of course, things have changed now where I'm actually training full time and building my business full time, and I've left law enforcement.
Okay. And tell me, on the mental side, how do you handle defeat? What brings you up from that defeat and the feeling of, hey, maybe I'm not good enough or anything like that that you might think at that time?
Initially, when I lost, it was actually very discouraging, and it kind of made me rethink whether I want to compete or not. But I definitely, I mean, although I took a little break, from competing, I never stopped training, and I realized that I see myself more as a martial artist over a fighter.
Hmm.
Being a fighter, you're trying to be the best of the best in the world. You're comparing yourself to everyone else. I see myself more as a martial artist in the sense that I don't compare myself to anyone else now. I just try to be the best version of myself. And I'm training because I'm training for longevity. I'm training to improve in every way I can. And I'm very open minded. So now I'm not only just training Muay Thai, Jiu Jitsu, I'm training wrestling, I'm trying to train karate, I'm trying to learn as many different disciplines as possible. And with that said, I don't believe I'm the best. I don't believe I can even be the best in the world, because there's just so many people out there, and there's always younger guys coming out. So to compare myself to all those younger guys and more hungry guys, it's just not realistic for me. As long as, you know, I can continue sharing my passion, as long as I can continue helping others, and as long as I can keep getting better, I'm okay. So if in my next fight I lose, that's okay. As long as I did my best, as long as I've done everything I could, I'm okay with it. And, you know, if I lose my next fight, it doesn't mean that I can't continue helping others. You know, you don't need to be the best to teach others. And what I've come to realize is that I love teaching, and that's what I do now.
Yeah, and I have to say, I do. I started watching your videos for the sections where you would break down one of the more famous MMA fighters, and you would show how they, and, you know, they did either certain attacks or counters or so. That's how I started watching your channel, and I myself, I'm a martial artist. I don't compete or anything like that, but I keep doing it for the challenge. You know, my son is 16, but taller than
Okay.
me, and I
Oh
spar
wow,
with him. And
that's awesome.
so for me, it's just a challenge, you know, keeps me young, and I love the martial arts for that aspect. But one of the things that is the hardest for me is when he's not here, he doesn't live with me. It's working out by myself, you know, the motivation. What do you use for motivation? I mean, not only after a fight where you might be all sore and all of that, but on those days that you might be sore just from working out, and how do you get out of bed and say, hey, you know, I have to go and train?
So this is the time, guys, that I'm going to take a few minutes just to remind you that I have more interviews like this on my channel, and I also have some sparring videos for with my son and a few friends. Not to the level that Jeff spars, but again, just for fun and entertainment. And so if you like this video, please subscribe, hit like, and get that notification bell so that you can find out when I have new videos. So thank you very much, and go ahead, Jeff.
I mean, it depends what kind of training. If it's training with partners, like as you said, it's obviously easier if you're training with your son. When I go into class and train with several other training partners, then uh, I love it. That's what I love doing. I have been quarantining. I mean, not right now, but you know, I came back from Washington about like 3 weeks ago, and I had to quarantine for 2 weeks, and I was dying at home. I was dying. I was so bored, and I was like begging my fiance to hold pads for me. And if she would hold pads for me, then I'd be okay. If she didn't, then obviously my heavy bag in the basement is not the greatest. I don't like hitting it. Shadowboxing is also not the most fun, so I struggled a bit. But I would still force myself to do it because I'm trying to stay in shape. I don't know when One Championship's going to call me for the next fight, and I just kind of want to be ready. Not absolutely ready, but at least not complete out of shape. So it was 2 weeks of me begging my fiance to hold pads for me.
Yeah, I see that. I
Yeah.
have the same problem. Let's see what other things that I have written here. Is there a belief that you have, whether it's religion or a greater self, that you think that has put you here to do certain thing, or is it just up to chance and you create your own path?
Uh, it's funny that you asked that. I am half religious in the sense that I don't believe in a specific religion like Christianity or Buddhism or anything, but I believe there's a higher being. I believe there's too many religions for one to be specifically true, but I believe, you know, there is a higher being, and the story has been kind of passed down wrong, maybe. Uh, so I do believe there's a higher being, and I definitely believe that things happen for a reason. And in my case, it was a blessing in disguise. I'm not quite comfortable to share what happened to me just yet, but I spent 10 years, as I was saying, I spent 10 years of my life trying to get into law enforcement, and I actually got into law enforcement finally, and I worked the job for 2 months until, you know, things happened, and I'm no longer in law enforcement. And basically the situation forced me to dedicate, you know, all my efforts into MMAShredded, and that's actually when it grew the most. And now I'm doing it full time. But before that, while I was growing the channel, I was trying to compete. I was working security. I was working, you know, security, hospital, Brinks, and then gone to law enforcement. I was just juggling so many things, and yeah.
And I've seen your growth on the chart of your channel, and I've definitely noticed at some point it really took off. Now, you mentioned that you like teaching. Is that something that comes natural to you? Do you want to teach? I mean, and when you're talking teaching, are you talking teaching through your channel, or when you go to a gym, you take someone and you try to teach them?
Both.
Either or both, correct?
Yeah, both. Of course, you know, I can reach a bigger audience online, and there's so much more I can teach online. I mean, I can teach more in person, and I can help you better in person, but online, uh, I guess it's not like, hey, I want to teach you this. It's here's a whole library of content, and you get to choose from. And I really enjoy content creating. I love to make content, and I like to be creative with how I teach and whatnot.
Yeah, like I said, it shows those segments that you have where you train and show us what someone else does, or even your own style. Like I said, I have tried and put some of those techniques to effect with my with my kids and my friends.
Mhm.
So and it shows on your channel. Now, just the last questions because we're gonna run out of the time. Family wise, were your family supporters when you said, hey, I'm just going to dedicate myself to be a fighter? I know that if I had told that, my family would have just not be very happy. um,
Being a fighter, no, they did not like the idea. But my mom is also kind of not a pushover, but she lets me do what I want to do. Although there was many complaints, um, but she was happy that I was going into law enforcement. Um, so as I mentioned earlier, the law enforcement thing, you know, it didn't turn out, and it wasn't my fault, and it was nobody's fault, and I was literally forced out of the situation. Um, and you know, I guess my mom was happy to see that I found a channel and I could focus my time on the channel. And you know, she was hesitant, or she had doubts, but there was nothing else I could do at the time. And then obviously, as she saw the numbers grow and she saw that I'm making money out of it, then she's like, okay, now she believes in
yes, of course. Every parent, once you start making money
it.
and not
Yeah.
need any more help from them, they're okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, Jeff, what do you see for yourself in the next few years, in the next 5 years or so? Do you are you going to focus yourself only on the channel, or well, obviously you're sparring, or do you plan like to have a gym or something like that?
So the main goal still is to continue growing the channel. I'd like to continue creating quality content, you know, for as long as I can. I hope 5-10 years down the road, I'd like to open up a gym. But right now, I can keep things online, so it gives me that freedom to travel. So for now, I'm going to keep it online. Um, just waiting for the next call for the next fight, and that's it.
I love the fact that you have recorded, when you were in Japan and Thailand and Vietnam.
Mhm.
That is awesome because we, the ones who don't get to experience those training camps or, some of those countries, um, I personally really like seeing how differently they trained and their
Mhm.
lifestyle and their behaviors and all of that. And so it's a very eye-opening, and I thank you for that. Because again, just like with the training sessions that you offer, um, they are very eye-opening and very, very good content. So thank you for that.
Thank you for watching. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. I make a few comments here and there sometimes, and so
Awesome. I
and
appreciate it.
So one last thing, Jeff, anybody out there watching, thinking about becoming a fighter, your decision or your suggestions or your advice, not only on the physical part, but mainly on the mental, because I think our worst enemy is ourselves. And that's where we struggle the most is our heads and negative comments that we make to ourselves. What would be your recommendation for them about that part?
Um, you need to be confident if you're going to fight, because if you don't have the confidence, you're going to probably lose. It's such a huge factor, as you've mentioned. Um, all I can say is you got to be consistent with your training and believe in your coaches. And if your coaches believe in you, then you're probably ready. If your coaches don't believe in you, then they're probably not going to put you out there. So that's how I've always looked at it. If I trust in my coach, I have a good relationship with my coach. If he's like, hey, you should take the fight, then I'll take the fight. If he's like, probably shouldn't, then that probably won't. This is a team sport. You know, you're the only one fighting, but it's a team sport.
And how, I know that you go to different gyms. Do you have a coach from each gym and you listen to them? Well, obviously you listen to them, but when it comes to a fight, do you have one specific coach that you listen to, or do you have like you do a meeting of all of them?
So of course I've traveled to multiple gyms, but those were just visits where I would jump the sparring and kind of just meet the fighters and whatnot. But I would say I have one home gym in Ottawa, and those are the guys that I've trained with for over 12, 13 years now. In my last fight camp, I did move to TriStar to have my fight camp there because, you know, Faraz is a great coach and there's several bodies there for me to spar with. Um, and then I met another coach over there, Xavier, who went with me to Singapore to fight. He was there for my fight camp, and he kind of was my main training partner, so I was comfortable with taking him. But I would speak with him and my main coach back in Ottawa. So it's usually one or two coaches.
All right, great, great.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, you know, I wanted to keep it under the time that I said I would. I don't want to take time from you, and I really appreciate your time and your dedication. And it has been an excellent interview. I personally really love your channel. Like I said, I've been watching already for some time, and I promote it as much as I can in my own videos. So I appreciate everything you do, and I appreciate the teacher in you. And thank you very much, and much success, and keep going.
Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for having me. It was a great chat, and I hope we can chat again in the future.
All right. Thank you very much, Jeff. You have a wonderful day and enjoy your training.
You too.